6:30? Yep. Okay, call the meeting to order. Anyone who hasn't signed in, please do. Appreciate it. Go over the minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved. I wasn't here on this one.
Okay.
Oh, second.
Second, all in favor?
All right.
Minutes passed. And we're going to have a Board of Health work session. I am not going to have any comments from the audience for this. This is a Board of Health work session.
I'm there, ready?
Hi.
How you doing? I'm Sean Fernandez, I'm the Golf Course Superintendent of Cranberry Valley. So, we're going to talk fertilizers and pesticides. Just to, as you guys said to you guys earlier in the agenda that I had sent to Meg, the most important part of this conversation is kind of understand where we've been and kind of where we're going. So to start off the conversation, firstly, history. Golf course superintendents, obviously everyone knows there's a lot of golf courses on Cape Cod. If anyone knows, there's over 50 of them. So we're a major player in the situation that's going on. There's fertilizer being applied up and down the Cape, we understand that. But we are stewards of our own environment. Back early in the 1980s, we started up a situation where we did, worked with UMass and we did the golf course study, and we actually put monitored wells on our golf courses and we had that tested. That's what we did earlier. That report you can read and you can see everything, all the studies that were done. Since then, and I graduated from school from UMass, so since then, there's a lot of things that obviously have gone on. We're at a point here on Cape Cod where obviously we're a sole source aquifer, so we need to do something. Since I became the superintendent of Cranberry Valley, my main goal has been we have reduced fertilizer from the beginning, when I got here in '99 to where we are now. When I first got here, the superintendent, back then, their rates were probably about somewhere around, and when I'm going to mention some numbers, I don't want to say if you probably won't know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm going to use them as generic as possible. When I say pounds per 1,000 square feet, we were putting down about 15 pounds over 80 acres, which equates to maybe just about somewhere around 0.5. Well, since then, I am even further than that. I am down near 11 pounds over 80 acres, which puts me at about 0.15. So when you look at the total atmosphere of what we're doing for fertilizer, we understand that we need to be stewards of the environment and we see what's coming. So we have now reduced rates. Our goal at Cranberry Valley has always been to give you the best product that we can, but understanding that we are dealing with financial and economic situations. So with that being the case, my plan that I do at Cranberry Valley is I use a little bit of what we call synthetic fertilizer on the ends, IBDU, slow release. I use it in April and then late again in November. And the reason that we do that is because that's what is available to the plant at that time. Now, in the middle of the summer, we go again when the microbes are working and they're chewing and they're eating. So they're eating up all that nitrogen so that nothing runs off. So understand, our program is synthetic in the seasons when organic's not working, and organic in the middle of the season as much as we can. So to still give us the green effect, and there's other ways that we can do it other than just broadcasting fertilizer. We spoon feed, we do a lot of little things, more cultural practices. Understand that everything that we do at Cranberry is based off of soil tests. We do soil tests every 2 years as far as soils, and then on greens, tees, and fairways, and then I also do water tests. So we have irrigation ponds, and we have ponds on the golf course that we test on a regular basis. So that we're constantly working off of that. So
What's a regular basis? How often would you say?
So for water, we do it in June, July, and August, and I do it with Heinz Proft, who's here in town, our water quality gentleman. I do a program with him where we test it and he sends it off to UMass. Usually around March, he sends me the info, we see what's going on, and then we go and we make our next move from there. I think that our approach at Cranberry Valley, the reason that we do this is because we know that the only way that we can achieve our goals and put Cranberry Valley in the best light is to be as much as a harmonious model. We know that we have to do some stuff, but we don't do it until we have to. So we're very preventative maintenance at Cranberry Valley. Now, understand, I also take care of the front field at Monomoy Regional School, the grounds. So I also write those programs. So those programs are also the same, very similar to what we do at Cranberry Valley. And then I also advise the highway department on what they do on the athletic fields that they take care of. So really, when I come to you and have this conversation, I'm giving you the scope of probably 85 to 90% of town-owned land. Usually it's under my preview as far as what's being put down, when it's being put down, and how it's put down. So just to give you an idea that we at Cranberry Valley have taken the stride to be as carbon neutral or as green as possible. That's been our plan from when I got there to where we're going, where our future plans are. Now, to move into organics for you, as far as what we're planning and how we plan on doing this is, there's been a lot of conversation on Cape Cod right now, if everyone notices. The town of Barnstable basically pulled the rug out in the middle of June last year and said, 100% organic. That's it, no more. So the town, the golf course, Old Barnstable Fairgrounds, and the other golf course can no longer use any synthetic fertilizers. Everything has to be Omni certified. Everything has to be 100%. But when you do that and you make that choice in the middle of the season, you don't give the gentleman who's taking care of the golf course any chance to respond or to set up cultural programs or things that need to get done. And when that does, you lose 20% of your revenue, roughly, kind of what's happened. And once the word gets out that your golf course isn't where it was, people tend to go away from it. Now understand, there are golf courses out there that do it 100% organic. Bethpage, the gentleman from Bethpage came out, had conversations with Barnstable. They go to Martha's Vineyard, there's a golf course over there that does it. We, as stewards of our environment, we kind of know, superintendents, where this information is taking us. So we're trying to get out in front and make sure that we're doing the things sooner than later to where we need to be. So one of those things is organic. Now understand, organic fertilizer isn't all equal. There's still phosphorus in organic fertilizer. So understand, when you say you're going to use organic fertilizer, well, it doesn't, listen, remember, they took the organic compounds out of phosphorus, out of washing detergent because it was a problem. So understand, we're still, when we say 100% organic, we've got to really talk about which organics and what the source is and how we're applying and when we're applying. Because those really come into play when we talk about organic fertilizers. Like I said, we do it in the season when the microbes are at their best, when they're just chewing and they're just trying to get that nitrogen, breaking up the organic fertilizer and everything that's in that soil. When you don't do it, if you put it down earlier than in April or late November, it's just going to sit there. And then it has a chance to lead to a runoff. So those are the things that we try to stay away from. Now, as being a steward of the environment ourselves, we look at the process of what we do and how we do it on a daily basis, sometimes on a weekly basis. Understand, when we're applying, firstly, fertilizer ain't cheap. And I work for the municipality, so our goal is to provide a better product for the least amount that we can. Now, but we look at everything on a daily basis, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, as far as disease, plant health, and how we do it. We go out and we're constantly sending samples out and trying to get information back to us to make a better decision about what we need to do and how we need to do it. So what we do we equate ourselves to almost like a doctor. Turf is an immune system. And it's the easiest way to make the analogy. So we give the plant what it needs when it needs it. We do it preventatively sometimes to understand that if we do this, then we may not have to do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes you get to a point when humidity's 100%, it's 85 out, and I got people walking, 400 people walking across my greens. I need to put something out because I know that I'm going to get dollar spot, which is the type of disease that you get. Those are the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So we try to, the best we do, what we can do is try to anticipate problems and do everything that we can do culturally to increase those chances for the turf to live, and then basically to give the conditions that we need to give to the golf. Now, when it comes to pesticides and we get into Roundup, I know this is a big hot topic with everyone. We at the golf course, our job is to grow grass. We don't try to kill it. So, our main goal is to try to maintain it as best we can. We only use less than 20 ounces in a course of a year. If we use 20 ounces, we're lucky. Now, most of the time, it's around a bench or stone or something like that. But when me and Meg have had numerous conversations, and what I told Meg was, at Cranberry Valley, and everything else that we take care of, that we would move away from the use of glyphosate. But I don't want to lose the chance to use it if it needs be. I'd rather have come back to you and tell you what my situation is and then let you dictate to me if I can and cannot. But at this point, I would say we're going to move away and we're going to try to do other things than using glyphosate because we know it's such a hot topic. So it makes life a little easier for everyone in the room when you say, well, we understand the situation, let's get some more science and get to that point where we're at, where we feel comfortable. So for us, it will be a little bit more labor intensive, but you know, it's the environment, we do what we need to do. Now, from a cultural standpoint, there are other aspects to, we do a lot more aerifying, we do a lot more thatching, and all that stuff is to get certain things out of the turf so that the plant is in a healthier stance. Like I said, we want to make it strong and healthy so we don't have to do certain things. Our main goal at Cranberry Valley has been to be an Audubon sanctuary. So about 5 years ago, the golf committee came to me and said, this is something like we would like to attain. And they said, what do you think it's going to take? I said, that's fine. I don't have a problem with any of that. It's a long process, but it takes time, energy, and money. Because what Audubon International is basically is, and no municipal golf course on Cape Cod has that designation. Not that I'm aware of. So we're trying to do something in municipal life that most municipals don't try to do. And that is to be as green as possible. And what I mean by that is, if you guys noticed, the board, you've probably seen the solar panels come in that we're working on. We're also, too, it comes with reduction of fertilizer, a reduction of water, a reduction of pesticide use. These are all part of the Audubon International. So our goal, and it always has been, was to do our job as best we can within the situation we have. We even, to the point where the town hires the United States USGA to come in, who's an agronomist, to oversee what I do to make sure that I'm doing the job that I'm supposed to in the best light for the town. So it's their chance to make sure that I'm doing the job I'm supposed to be. By the amount of nitrogen, by what we're doing in our cultural programs, all those is exactly what he comes in. And when you do Audubon, they come in again on top of that and then critique it to a whole different level. And they want to make sure that not only are you doing the programs and everything else, but that you're taking that initiative to go get solar panels, to do quieter carts, to get rid of gasoline storage. Those are the things that they want to see. Those are the things that we're trying to achieve. So, if you have any, I talk real fast, so. Do you have any questions or concerns?
Yeah. On the, like the roundup, let's put it roundup, okay. Is there any alternative that you can use that other golf courses have used rather than, because it's such a hot topic right now, and I'm just wondering.
Correct. Well, I'll be honest with you, you know, understand that we're using a chemical that's still legal in the state of Massachusetts.
I understand that, yes.
So understand that by most golf courses, when you say aren't going to use Roundup, I'm going to say that they listen to the state of Massachusetts, and that dictates to them that they can use it, they're going to use it. Now, us being a municipality, we're at a disadvantage because we're listening to the boards and the people in the town. So we're taking it upon ourselves to look a different way. Now, there are stuff not as proven because, again, when Roundup is so readily available at every store in town that you can get, and the local homeowner can use it at a level that most golf courses don't even think about, it becomes a harder situation. We're going to go old school. We're going to pull leads. We're going to get our butane, and we're going to burn them in spots where we can burn. But we're going to do those things. And there are some stuff that we will try that to see how it works up against Roundup. But like I said, we only use 20 ounces. So us making the push to go, like I said, we want to grow grass, so we don't really kill a lot of it. So we hope that what we want to do still achieves our goals that we're trying to achieve.
Very interesting.
And anytime you guys have questions, concerns, I can forward the data on. I'm showing you the reduction that we've done since I've been there to where we are now as far as fertilizer. And I told Meg, anytime you guys have questions and concerns, feel free, I'll come back and talk. You know, I said this to Meg, I think education is the way to go. I think that answers a lot of questions to a lot of people. And I said to Meg, use me as a source if you need me. I'll sit on Channel 18 with you. We'll talk about it. I think that goes a long way. You know, show a man how to fish, feed him for a while, give him a fish, he's back the next day. Same scenario, I think. I think that,
Thank you.
and, you know, and I think the other aspect is the fact that your board and us are having this conversation is different than I've seen across Cape Cod. I have a lot of fellow superintendents that, when they come in on a Monday or a Tuesday, and there's a whole different situation than it was the day before for them. So, as far as conversation, it's now reactive instead of being, you know, a situation where you can have a good conversation about it.
The only comment I'd like to make is that I don't think there's any data out there that is actually linking glyphosate with cancer. There isn't any data out there.
None.
It doesn't exist.
So, I've been in the business for quite some time. I'm 51 years old. I worked at Harwich High, graduated, went to UMass, and I've been doing this for over 35 years. And I know a lot of people in the business, and, you know, to say that, oh, cancer rates this, there's none.
No.
We don't see guys in our business dropping off. So to say that that's the case, that's not the case.
The mechanism of action there doesn't exist in people. It exists in plants. So it doesn't have the same effect on us as it does
Correct.
plants.
Correct. You have to understand the chemistry, you have to understand the mode of action, and then that will give you the way that it works within the plant. It's not the same. Now, if you talk about carcinogens, it'd be a different situation. The way that if you were putting out a restricted use insecticide on an ant that's you're trying to kill or get rid of, that same, back in 1970, that situation would have been different. It would have been the same thing that hurt them would hurt us. It would affect our nervous system. That's not the case now. The stuff that we're using now is so small and minute, and then the moment you put it into 200 gallons, now you have basically 200 gallons. So.
Now, I believe there was a study, and I don't have it handy, but I know someone that does. There was a study done here on Cape Cod, and from what I remember, they didn't find it in the water either.
Correct.
So,
No, they do not.
you know, just to his point when he was asking about, you know, could we use something else in place of this? I don't know that there's a reason to.
Correct.
There's no data to support it.
None whatsoever at this point.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear.
Well, the problem we have now is that people are suing and getting millions of dollars from juries, okay? So whether we like it or not, I don't think the town wants to get embroiled in some kind of a suit.
Well, you know, and I'll say this, I mean, like anything else, I think as time goes, you'll hear more information and more science will come out. But one thing about golf course superintendents is, and the way that we do business is everything's based off of science.
Yeah.
We cannot make snap judgments because we apply pesticides. We put down fertilizer. We are trying to work with Mother Nature in the best possible way to lessen our footprint in Mother Nature. You know, and you know, some people are going to run to the argument and rather be safe than sorry, and understandable in that situation. And that's why, like I said to Meg, it's better for us just to move away from it and let's find out what happens in the end. We can, as long as we don't take it off the table and we have use of it at a later date, if we need to. Not to say that we don't find something in the meantime that gives us the same reaction, and we can still do it. Now, understand, there's other ways, like I said, you know, the old-fashioned salt. I believe it's a combination. You look online, they give you everything. You can go out, you step on the weed, you spray that on. There's ways that we can do it. But the best thing for a lawn is competition. You can make your grass, if you're doing the things you're supposed to, you can keep out most weeds on your lawn just by doing the culture taxes. We got lazy. When people get lazy, they react to a bag and says, oh, it lets me do it, then I'll just go put this on. It's not the case. You have to, if you want a good lawn, it takes work. Understand, I 40 hours a week every week over there at Cranberry Valley, so sometimes more.
Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank
Like I said,
you.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you
Promise.
very much. And if
So
you
if
guys
you-
want to talk again, I'll come back.
So if you'd like to, you can set up a vote to set up another work session in the next few weeks.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I hear a vote to set up another work session?
I make a motion to set up another work session on this.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get that on the books.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Still a little early, so we can move on to, okay.
And you can do writing report.
Okay.
Yeah, I reported some handouts that are pertinent to the topic. I know I can't speak, and our lawyer wrote to me and said that I should make copies
You can leave them with me, and then we can distribute them to the board.
Oh, great, thank you very much.
So if you'd like, since we have a few more minutes, we can go on to Megan's report, if you'd like to do that. So for January, we had the Tobacco Control Program conduct compliance checks. And unfortunately, 3 of our retailers were caught selling tobacco products to a minor. These compliance checks involve a tobacco control program employee driving a teenager to various locations and having them go into stores to then purchase tobacco products. The teenager goes to a sales counter and requests the products, either cigarettes, cigars, some kind of e-product. They do not carry any identification on them, and if they ask, they are required to say that they don't have any ID. If they are asked for their actual age, the clerk must provide, they must provide the clerk their actual age. And in these 3 cases, no ID was requested at the stores and sales were actually made. With the new state law in place, the fine structure is significantly greater than the town, and it's actually a $1,000 fine for the first offense of selling products to a minor. In these checks, the minor was 19 years old and they were able to obtain the tobacco. So we have received 2 of the 3 fines have already been paid from Portside Liquors and Main Street Market, and then the 3rd one is on for this evening, is 7-Eleven. So her communicable disease update is on the coronavirus, which has made the news and been declared a worldwide emergency by the World Health Organization and a U.S. emergency by the President. The first confirmed case of the 2019 novel coronavirus infection in the United States was reported on January 21st in Washington. As of February 1st, over 14,000 cases have been reported in at least 21 countries, including 8 in the United States. We have 1 known case in Boston, and at this time, the risk is low to residents. To best protect ourselves, use proper sneeze and cough etiquette, stay home when you're sick, wash hands often. Megan attended a EEE provided update by the state because the rise in cases last year. The state and the mosquito control programs are looking to update their emergency response plan this summer. And her last update was for the sewer, which is that we have a licensed utility installer application available to the public, which is actually on the permit list for this evening. And a 3rd mailing of stub locations form requests have also been made to the properties that have not returned their stub locations. Megan also included the 2019 annual report. You can review it at your convenience. It has all the breakdowns of all the permits, everything that we've done over 2019. There were no correspondences to go over. And for the permits, they are all renewals except for the licensed utility installers. That's the completely new category. And this will provide options to homeowners for their sewer connections, which I know a lot of people are anxious to start seeing, looking into hires. So that will help them. Need to vote. So you just need to vote for the permits to
Do I hear a vote to accept the permits from tonight?
I so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So it's passed.
Perfect. And unless anyone has anything else, everything else has to wait. 3 more minutes.
I said, I thought I didn't have D. I couldn't find, but I had it attached to this. Okay. I said, what I'll do is, I knew she had that stuff to give out, so I'm gonna have her scan that stuff I had and get that out to her, because it's a really interesting, because of all the studies that are done. There was one study in there with thousands of people. And there is a lot of data there. The few people who have contracted cancer report that they can't improve, that no cause and effect. But once it's they used on there. I don't know if I would rather be talking about as far as them taking it to court, I think now there's more studies than I don't think would say that there should be definitely say this cause issues with I think because they just needed to feel it. Do I want to protect the environment? But you know what?
Catherine, to what extent does the Board of Health control littering?
Good question.
Well, there's an article in here with the pictures from the,
So if it's trash and debris on a property,
Yeah.
we have jurisdiction over that.
you do. Okay.
But I don't, like, are you talking, if someone's just driving
How
up?
big does it have to be before you call it trash and not litter?
To me, litter is along a highway. Or you're
Right,
throwing it out
yeah,
your
so we don't
window
have
versus
control over that.
somebody's residence of some sort where they're just dumping trash out of that. I think that, to me, would be the difference between.
So trash and debris, we do have jurisdiction over on a private property. We can't control if someone throws trash out on the highway.
Yeah, but only in commercial
And residents as well.
installations.
And regular homes as well. as
Oh, you
residents.
can control trash.
Okay.
That's interesting.
That came out in this program I'm taking. It's really a good program.
Good, I'm glad.
Really a good program.
Good.
I really am getting a lot out of it.
Good.
But they were talking about things like safety issues like that.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh, what I have is. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so continued from November 12th, 2019 Board of Health meeting. Request for extension of Board of Health condition request from 21 Plus Smoke Shop, 1421 Orleans Road, to extend the deadline of their approved tobacco application until April 30th, 2020.
I open the hearing.
Good evening, everyone. We are in the situation of the reason.
Can you speak up a little louder?
Is that even turned on? Is it?
So it doesn't amplify, it
Oh.
just picks it up for the recording.
Oh,
Okay.
Does it need to push the button?
No, you don't have to, but just speak up so the audience can hear you.
Got you.
Thanks.
My name is Praveen Patel, and I'm the manager of the East Harwich Market. And I'd like to apply for extension for the 21 Plus Smoke Shop in East Harwich Market, East Harwich Plaza. And the problem with us is we are in between the lease situation, but the company of the plaza is too big. So it takes so much long to get correspondence from back and forth. They need to see everything by their, certain money that we are spending in the place, and they don't want like cheap place. So they want us to present how much money that we are spending in that location and how that's going to look. And thing is, we don't even know who is the owner. We are always dealing with the different people. So whenever we email anything, it takes at least a couple of weeks to come back, and it's just keep going back and forth, back and forth. So we need just a little bit more time to get through with that and get the lease done. And there is not too many plaza around in, Harwich that we can just lease it. Otherwise, we would be able to open up somewhere else. So that's what the request is for this extension with the Board of Health allow us to do it. Thank you very much.
any public comment? I'm closing the hearing. Board discussion?
I have no objection to the extension myself.
Maybe it would be a good idea to go a month, and you can come back
Okay.
if needed for another extension, but I think we should just give a month at a time if everybody agrees with that.
No problem. Yeah.
Megan's recommendation was that the condition be in operation by March 17th, 2020, so 1 month from now.
Okay.
So.
Can you come back for another extension?
Mhm.
Okay.
He's got to request it in writing.
Thank you very much.
You would have to
You'd have,
request
yeah, you
it.
would have to request it like you did.
I got you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
We need to vote.
Yes.
Do I hear a vote to extend the application for a month?
I so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
So for the new business, hearing 711, appeal of an order and fine issued by the Health Department for violation for the regulation of the Harwich Board of Health restricting the sale of tobacco products, Section D, and 105 CMR 665-010, minimum standards for retail sale of tobacco and electronic nicotine delivery systems.
I open the hearing. Anyone from the audience here
Syed?
from 711?
In that case, I only want to ask the request the board.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Sure. I'm only requesting the board to reduce the fine because I was away and I just came back this weekend. I didn't have a chance to look at the video. And now I'm turning this store back to the corporate. I have no access to the store anymore. I closed the store and I can't even go back. So I requested if you can reduce the fine because I don't have any money. I'm only bankrupt.
So is it against him or the company?
It appears that it's him as owner is what the violation was written as. The board, if they would like to send it to 7-Eleven, it would most likely be appealed, and could be brought into court, so,
So it's not direct, so, just, is it, you know, yeah, so a 7-Eleven is kind of like a Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, it's a.
the violation was written to Syed, but it's unclear if that's as well as the corporation. Megan seemed to think that it was against Syed regardless of 7-Eleven. But from my talks with her, she seemed a little bit unclear as well.
Is it a franchise or a?
That was the word I was looking for, yeah.
So the letter was written to him as an individual, but it is technically a franchise.
So he does control the employees then, completely?
That would be a question for him.
You're in charge of your own employees,
Yes, sir.
and you are responsible for their behavior?
Yes.
I don't see the problem, really.
What did you say about bankruptcy?
No, what I say is that since the new rules and regulation, it killed my business. And I've been paying salary and all the operating expenses out of my pocket. I don't have any money left. That's why I returned the store to the corporate. And that's only requesting to reduce the fine.
Do you have any evidence for that?
What kind of-
Evidence that you can't afford it?
I just came back.
I mean, like a bank statement or something like that that we could use for evidence?
Well, if you give me time, I can do something.
All right, so are you the manager?
No, I was a franchisee.
And you're saying you don't have the money to pay this fine?
Because I've been paying all the salary and all the expenses.
So you're not taking in anything?
No, nothing. The business is down. I can't even make salary. It's only down to $1,600 a day, which is not gonna make any salary at all. Since January 1st, it happened, and it went down.
Megan had also asked for a copy of either the surveillance tape or a written statement from either Mr. Syed or the clerk that was working, describing what happened and why this isn't a violation.
Well, that's not our responsibility, is it? To establish whether it's a violation or not?
Well, that's why he's appealing the violation.
But we didn't set that violation, did we?
We did,
Oh,
yes. So the tobacco control went in with the underage individual.
I thought it was tobacco control that brought the violation down.
They set the individual in, but we, as,
We have to actuate it, right?
we
have to
set
make
the
it-
violation,
Okay.
yes.
And what are our rules about,
So it's $1,000 fine for the
no, I mean
first.
about what we can do to change
So
a
you can
fine?
either uphold the violation, or you as the board can decide to waive it
I see, okay.
in the appeal.
I would be willing to consider it with evidence, but I don't you can't just say that and change our mind. I think you need to have some evidence that what you're saying is true.
I can bring the bank statements.
Say again?
I can bring the bank statements.
So you,
Bank statements and also salaries and,
you could vote to continue it with
yeah,
requested documents.
okay, I so move to.
Wait a minute, I think we're not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
I would have, oh, go ahead.
Are you saying you're gonna close the store?
I already returned the store to the corporate.
You're gonna return the store to the corporate?
Yes, sir.
Is there a date on that you're gonna do that?
Today.
Today?
Yes, sir, this morning. That is the evidence that I don't have the money to pay them, but it's in the store now today. I get your call.
So you're gonna just leave the store?
Yes, sir. I have no access to this store now.
So because it's changed, if you'd like to continue to the March 17th meeting, it might give
think we
us
can-
an opportunity to look further into the hearing you was supposed to provide, basically the video, to see whether the violation occurred or not. So if you'd like to continue to March.
I would,
Would corporate pay the $1,000?
No.
Since you're the franchisee, so that they wouldn't pay that.
Yes, sir.
No? Okay for a motion?
Yes.
Is that all right?
Continue, yeah.
I would, I would recommend that we, move that we continue this hearing until next meeting, in which case we would like to have from you substantial evidence of your losses and your financial distress. Whatever evidence you
Well,
feel
there's
is.
no boss.
I'm sorry?
Did you say boss?
Financial evidence for the losses that you sustained and also from your own financial condition, plus a letter from the corporation confirming that you are no longer the franchisee.
yeah, I was going to ask to have that. In other words, when you signed it back to
I
corporate.
have that document in my car if you want.
Now, we need all that evidence together so we can consider it together if possible.
Yeah,
We just need to know that you have legally stopped being the franchise owner,
mhm,
and just that you are in financial difficulty
yeah.
at the next meeting,
Okay,
okay?
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did anyone second that?
Oh,
Oh, let's second it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have what you need?
Sorry about that.
Okay, next up we have hearing Lucy 32 Dunes Road to consider a variance request to relocate and replace an existing pump chamber and request relief from providing a monopore or plastic construction pump chamber under Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210, one for Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210 to allow a proposed pump chamber to be 35 feet from the wetland as recognized by the Harwich Conservation Commission, where 50 feet is required. Variance request to 15 feet. Number 2 for Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210 to allow for relief from providing a monopore or plastic construction pump chamber within 100 feet of a wetland as recognized by the Conservation Commission.
I open the meeting. Sorry. I open the hearing, excuse me. Sorry.
Let's see if I can. That works. Okay. For the record, I'm John Schneidel, Coastal Engineering. I'm representing the Thomas and Carolyn Lucy. We have the property at 32 Dunes Road. I gave you a little copy of the GIS map that kind of show you where we're at. This is kind of very localized. It just basically shows what we're doing, you know, the renovation work they're doing outside the building, doing very minor work as far as footprint, and then the leaching system. So what I've done there is showing you where the property is, and where I have in green it says PC, that's actually where this pump chamber is going. So it kind of gives you a general idea of what's going on. Okay, the existing conditions, it's in a residential area. I'm sure you know this area, Dunes Road and Nons Road. And Allen Harbor is to the west. And the limit of work that we're actually doing in this area is about a little under 5,000 square feet when we, in totality, once we get going on the project. It's a two-story house. It's existing. If you look at the property, it's quite a bit of hardscape, has quite a stairway to get up to the property. And that's kind of what a lot of the renovation work is. A lot of that walls are going to be torn down in this new kind of more open area, so it looks a little more inviting than it's presently has right now. The property, and what we're here for is that we have a 7-bedroom Title V septic system. And what we're looking to do is, because of this renovation work, there's a pump chamber that's right in this area right here that is going to be in the way of what we're doing. So we're going to take that pump chamber out and put a new pump chamber, larger than what was there. This is a 7-bedroom house. So actually that 1,500-gallon tank was actually not the correct size for 7 bedrooms in order to fit everything in as far as getting the 24-hour storage and everything. So we're removing that tank, putting in this new pump chamber. It's a 2,000-gallon tank, and it's going to be in this driveway area here. And one of the reasons that we're actually here requesting a variance from the Town Board of Health regulations is that you can't buy a 2,000-gallon monolithic tank, H20. So that's why we want to put a two-piece tank. But what we're doing, protect it, make sure that it is not going to, it's going to be watertight. It's actually do the 24-hour and 48-hour testing that we typically do on larger systems. So we would do that for this in order to make sure that it's watertight and we wouldn't have any issues with leakage from that tank. Also, the septic tank presently is about 15 feet away from this flood zone elevation, which actually is considered a resource area by the Conservation Commission. That is supposedly changing in April. That won't be, but it is presently right now. And also we have a coastal bank here. So right now that tank is, again, like I said, it's 15 feet away. We're going to make it so it's 35 feet. So we're increasing the distance and actually then putting it in here in this area. We're not even sure what kind of, it's a 2-piece tank right now that's there. So what we're doing is we're going to place it here, again, farther away, and I think a little more environmentally sensitive than what's presently there now. And again, those are the 2 variances we're requesting. Again, the sewage disposal system was not, when it was originally designed by another engineering outfit, they missed that there is a coastal bank and that there's one of the resource areas here as far as the floodplain and the setbacks and the buffers that are required from the Conservation Commission and from you guys. So that's kind of why we're here. And if this wasn't, you know, we picked it up and that's why we're here. So I think that's why there's no variances for the first time ever. I think that's really it.
Couple of questions?
Sure.
Can you wait just a minute, please?
Sorry.
Any comments from the audience? I closed the hearing. Okay, go ahead.
Couple of questions. Why can't you get a 2,000-gallon tank, and what happens if you just couple 2,000-gallon tanks together?
Okay, this is a pump chamber. There's a pump in it. So in other words,
Oh, it's not a tank, it's not just a tank?
it's not a septic tank, it's a pump
I'm
chamber.
sorry, I misunderstood.
Yes.
Okay.
Pump chamber. Yes.
And why
Yeah,
doesn't
we need, you know, by the time you figure, you gotta keep the pump cool, so there's a certain amount, we try to keep 18 inches of water in the tank, just for that to keep it cool when it's running. And then you gotta have, there's 5 inches that are basically the amount of water that will be discharged to the leaching system.
Uh-huh.
Then you have, we figure 3 inches or so for the alarm. So by the time you figure all that out, you know, that you can't use a 1,500-gallon tank.
Right.
is a 770 gallon, is it 7 bedrooms, so that's,
Yeah.
they get that capacity. So in order to get a 24-hour storage, we need to put a 2,000 gallon tank.
And they don't make them anymore?
They don't make, they make 1,500 gallon. They don't make
And
2,000.
that's
We
the
don't-
only company that makes them?
Well, ones that are around here, I mean, we talked to Shorey, and that's the one company that, that has them. That's a 1,500 gallon monoliths. Anywhere else is like you'd have to go to Shea Concrete or one of those that are, Wiggins, that are off, quite a distance off Cape. So, I don't know if they even have, I tell you the truth, I don't know if they even have. I
Okay.
don't think they do. That's the reason that we're going for the 2,000. Again, we'll water test it, do the 24-hour, the 48-hour. It's what we do for, when we do some of our larger systems that we make sure that they're watertight.
I have a question, and I'm not good at understanding these drawings. Is this pump going underneath the driveway?
Yes, this tank is if you see the site, this is a brushed actually, that's not brushed actually, it's a regular concrete drive right here. And they'll actually will be removed and then replaced, the tank will be installed and then this concrete will be re-poured over it. Presently, right now, it's kind of in this planted area, part of it, and part of it actually is.
I'm just thinking, you're going to put a driveway over that.
Yeah.
So you're going to be driving over that all
Yeah,
the time.
Absolutely.
If anything needs to be done to that pump, you're going to have to rip up the driveway.
No, there'll be covers to grade. It's shown on the plan. We're gonna have covers, both the inlet and outlet. There'll be metal covers on, so that you can, you have to have, it's per the code anyway.
All right.
You have to have them, you're gonna have covers, they're gonna be degrade. And so anytime you can pop the cover and then.
And the leaching
surface
field
it.
is open. I mean, that doesn't have, it's not under the driveway.
It is not, it is over in this area, yes. On this side of we're not doing anything with that. So.
I just have one other, do you know if this site or this road is on any of the programs to be stored?
No.
No, that area is not.
It's not.
That's down the road. That's like, if anything, phase 8 or something. That's down. That's quite a distance away. So.
All right. All right.
Harwich Sports Center's not really going to be stored till like 2000.
Can you describe what you mean by wrapping the chamber?
I didn't.
I'm sorry, can you tell us what wrapping involves of the pump chamber?
Wrapping.
You
Yeah,
said
it
you're
says-
gonna watertight the tank.
Yes.
How would you do that?
Well, there's two ways to do it. We were going to. Again, I'm kind of pinch hitting for Stacy, who's on vacation, and I don't remember her talking about wrapping. But we can't. Where's she talking about?
Next to last paragraph on her letter. It's a one-sentence paragraph.
Dr. Cushing, you're looking at Megan's,
Yes.
right, not Stacy's letter.
Okay, because I'm looking, I'm sorry, I don't know. I mean, there will be, okay, see, I didn't see anything.
Oh, I'm
so I was
sorry.
like, where did this?
He doesn't get a copy of that.
They're not
Well, we
giving
would put
one.
I understand what she's talking about, wrapping this. She's talking about actually right on this, the tank itself will have the butyl rubber, between the two top and bottom of the tanks. Now, what she's talking about here is actually wrapping. There's a wrap you can put around right on the seam too, on the outside, and then it has like a butyl rubber sticky stuff right on that, and
Yeah.
you can wrap that right around the seam too. That's like a double.
How about the bottom?
Well, the bottom is, there shouldn't be a problem with the bottom. It's the seam is where the leak would happen.
Okay.
Okay. And then, again, with the wrap, you would, place that around there, and then that would give it, the butyl rubber, that should actually hold it, should do fine, but to actually augment that is, we can't put that butyl rubber wrap around it, and then after that, we would test it, do the 24, 48-hour test.
This is under pressure, I presume, from some kind?
Well, I mean, you're gonna fill the tank right up to where the T is on the inlet end, and then, let it
That's
sit.
pressure, all right.
Yeah, there's some head to that,
Yeah.
okay, probably 2-3 feet ahead on that, so that's, and basically, to tell you the truth, in a pump chamber like that, we're actually, we would typically, the levels would be below that seam. The only time that it would be above that seam is if there's no electricity and they needed that 24-hour storage, then the liquid level would,
Well, there was some obstruction to the flow, I presume, to the leaching bed? Like if there were a foreign body in that pipe that goes to the leaching bed?
Well, we hope not. I mean, you're gonna have, you have a septic tank, and it's gonna have a Zabel filter in there to keep out such materials like that, and then.
Is filters right at the origin of the pipe?
Is on the outlet into the septic tank.
Okay.
Okay, can I hear a recommendation?
Sure. So Megan says this existing 7-bedroom home had a system installed in 2004 without variances. At the time, the coastal dune was not located, and therefore the tank and pump chamber were placed in the front of the house without variances. Now, the coastal dune and floodplain have been located and are considered a wetland under the Conservation Commission. This plan has received conservation approval. The homeowners would like to install new hardscape, including stairs and stone walls that will be located over the existing pump chamber. To best access the pumps, the chamber is being moved. The chamber will be further away from the resource than it is now. Industry does not make a 2,000-gallon tank that is H20. This tank is going under a driveway, and H20 is needed. The engineer has proposed to wrap the tank and make it watertight in lieu of a monopore tank. The proposed pump chamber does not impact the environment as proposed. I recommend the approval of the variances with the following conditions. 1, the property shall be restricted to a maximum of 7 bedrooms. 2, no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the Board of Health. The 2,000-gallon pump chamber shall be water tested prior to use. And 4, variances and conditions to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
Yeah, I still have a question about that 2,000 gallons. There seems to be a contradiction in Megan's letter. She says industry does not make a 2,000-gallon tank. That is H20, but down at the bottom, number 3, the
So
2,000-gallon pump chamber. Well, there isn't one.
So it's a monopore, which means it's poured in one piece, whereas
Is
what
it
they're
what,
proposing
concrete?
is
Concrete?
two pieces. That typical septic tanks come and pump chambers come in 2 pieces. We require a monopore tank within the 50 feet of the wetland
Oh, I see.
because there's a less chance of leaking. So where they're proposing is they'll wrap it. We're also going to do the water test to make
There
sure.
isn't a 2,000-gallon chamber then.
That's one pour. They have the 2 pieces.
And that's what they're wrapping.
And that's what they're
That's what they're
wrapping.
gonna
So
wrap.
instead of finding a one-piece one, because that doesn't exist,
Okay, but
they have a
they're having
two-piece
two
one.
halves putting it together.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what I was asking before, but I guess I didn't ask it right.
Bringing that up, the question is then, you talk about it's going to be wrapped, and you're going to do a water or a
Water
pressure.
test, yeah.
Do we require any documentation of?
We come out and witness it.
Okay, all right, all right,
We'll write a letter to it,
Yeah.
all right.
It's both.
So they call us and say, okay, this is time point 0, and then we'll go back the next day, and if we do 48 hours.
All right, okay.
So this is a monopore tank that they want. No, I'm still confused. There are 2 halves of what?
So there's a top and a bottom.
Yeah,
The monopore is 1.
I understand that, but what tank are they putting in?
The
What's
2-piece.
What do you call it, in other words? What's the
A
name
pump
of it?
chamber,
Pump chamber. And what's the size of it?
2,000 gallons.
That's what puzzles me.
When you put the 2 pieces together
Yeah,
and they wrap them,
yeah.
that makes the 2,000,
Yeah.
or
But that makes it a 2,000 gallon tank, right?
Right, but it's not the mono, it's not the, what do they call it? It's not a mono pour one. It's not all in
In
one.
other words, the variance is in the seam between the two parts.
Correct. That's the-
And if you wrap it, it becomes one part, essentially.
Well, I mean, it already is, because once you put the butyl rubber, it's gonna be one piece, but to be double safe, we're gonna put the
Yeah.
wrap around it just to,
All right.
be a second kind of protection on any leakage.
Okay,
So
I think
just-
I understand.
Typically, maybe I'm just making this worse, but
What?
I'll say typically a 1,500 gallon tank is 11 by 6, by about 5 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 2,000 gallon tank is 11 by 6, but about 6.5 feet. So, and all that extra weight, very difficult. It's got to be brought by a boom truck.
Oh, yeah. So the problem is transportation, essentially. Uh-huh. Okay,
Okay,
I
do
understand.
I hear a motion?
somebody else ought to move.
All right, I'll make a
Yes.
motion to approve the variance request. Is that,
With the
We have to
conditions or without the
approve
with,
conditions?
with Megan's
Approve
provisions?
her recommendation.
Recommendations, yes.
Do you want any change in wordage? Is everybody clear on what the 2,000 implies?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
All right,
Second?
second.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, weird. So the reason they don't make it is because it's too heavy, right?
Next up, hearing Murray 23 Harborview Road to reconsider order of conditions granted September 14th, 1994. No increase in square footage to the dwelling. Projects consist of adding a second floor to the existing dwelling. The second floor will consist of off a bedroom, bathroom, and office/study.
Open the hearing.
Good evening, Bill Riley, on behalf of Jane Marie and Jean Murray, who are present here in front of us. So, when the Murrays bought the property, apparently they weren't road representatives, they weren't aware of the restrictions. They've owned the property 2011. Yeah, for 8 years. What they had done at the time they acquired the property was they installed a bathroom at a lower level. When we filed the application and the floor plan, Megan made us aware of the fact that work had clearly been done that was violative of the variance that we granted. In fact, any additional floor space. So we had revised plans done, which were delivered. I hope you all noticed that. So the goal of the Murrays is well, they're young 70. They want to age in place. And so their plan was to add a second floor so that their master bedroom's on the first floor. And then if they had to have somebody come in and live with them, who would help take care of them, they would be able to have their own private space on the second floor. So, Rick Roy Construction, who did the plans, and did the construction, redid the plans in conversation with Megan, removing the walls in the lower section, except for the bathroom. And on the second level, there has been a wall at the top of the staircase. Megan's suggestion has been reduced to a 4-foot wall, and everything's open to below, so that it doesn't meet the privacy requirement of a bedroom. And so that's basically the story. The basement really is a basement. The only access, outside access, is a bulkhead. And the Murrays have no interest in living in the basement. They just want to be up there on the first floor and have second floor space for guests, and or in the event they need somebody to come and help them with their daily activities. So we agree with all of Megan's recommendations, and I hope you approve the application.
The reason for the bath in the basement is for people using the craft room?
Well, the Murrays were the ones who installed the bathroom. Because they did want to have, I don't know about you, but I like to have a bathroom close to me at my age, so perhaps that was what their thought process was. But yes, that's, so they don't, they don't have to run upstairs. And who can run at this age, right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So,
We'll close the hearing. Any comment from the audience?
So Megan has, the existing two-bedroom, single-story dwelling is served by a 1,000-gallon septic tank and a 290-gallon per day leaching trench, last inspected in 2011. The approved floor plan in 1994 did not include any finished space in the basement. The proposed plan shows an increase in habitable space by adding a second floor. The first floor is being modified to remove a bedroom and install a larger bathroom/master suite. The second floor is proposed to have a bedroom and an office/study accessed by a 4-foot cased opening. The existing setback variances are not affected by the proposed construction. This area is not located in a watershed and is in Phase 8 of the CWMP. I recommend the approval of the reconsideration with the following conditions. 1, the office/study shall have a half wall open to the stairwell in order to remove privacy and the use of a room as the room as the bedroom. 2, the property shall be restricted to a maximum of 2 bedrooms. 3, no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the Board of Health. And 4, variances and conditions to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
Move the acceptance of the health director's
Can I ask a
recommendation.
question first? I
You
just
can-
need to ask a
You can have a
question.
question. All right. Even after a motion, you can have a question.
So, you're finishing the basement, that's,
the basement's already finished.
oh,
It was
so,
all done, this was all done, obviously, in violation of the variance that had been granted by a prior owner. See, the variance is 25 years old, and so, you know, the Murrays have only owned it for 8 years.
so what's the second floor? Is that ground level then? Is the second floor?
No, the second
No.
floor is really gonna be the first floor.
Right now.
The first floor, which is ground level? Oh.
No, see,
Right now, we have 7,
it helps if only one of us are explaining. Okay, right now, it's a 1-story building
Right.
with a finished basement.
Oh, all right, the
Okay.
basement is finished,
And the
okay.
only access, exterior access to the finished basement is through a bulkhead. So it really is a basement.
Okay,
Okay. What they want to do is add a second floor,
okay,
so they're going to go up, so now it'll be a 2-story building.
all right,
Okay, and there'll be the master bedroom suite, and the kitchen and the living area is, you know, on the first floor.
okay,
Now, the second floor is going to have an open space, they call it an office study, and a bath and a bedroom for either guests or, as they age in place, someone who can stay and help them with their daily activities.
okay, so now the bath that's there, does that include a toilet facility?
The bathroom in the basement,
Okay. Oh, so all right, so there's already a bathroom in the basement.
yeah, when the Murrays bought the house, they weren't aware of the violation that had occurred with the finish of the basement.
Mhm.
So, you know, those of us of a certain age like to keep the bathroom close at hand. So they installed a bathroom down there.
Okay.
So
So is there gonna be a bathroom on that second floor?
there's gonna be a bathroom on every floor.
So now, all right, so I guess then where I'm going with this is, is, and I'm sure Megan would have looked into it, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Then with all the extra bathrooms, is the septic system,
It's only by bedroom, it's not by bathroom. So you calculate the flow by a number of bedrooms. The bathrooms don't, there's no calculation for bathrooms.
Really?
They cut the 2 bedrooms on the first floor to 1 and added another one upstairs, so it's still the same number of bedrooms.
Right, so the
yeah,
sewer
all right, see,
flow,
I guess that's what I was thinking was, you're going by bedrooms, and I'm looking at it as,
Yeah.
That makes sense, but it's not the way it.
yeah, that makes sense, but all right, that's not the way it
yeah,
goes.
the regulation assumes that people are living in the bedrooms, not in the bathrooms. So, you know, I always tell clients, you can have as many bathrooms as you want, but you can only have 2 bedrooms.
That's really bizarre, but okay, that's the way it is.
Is there gonna be any access to the basement besides the bulkhead now?
Well, there'll be an interior access.
Now there's gonna be, before there was no access to it?
No, before there was an interior access
Okay,
and the bulkhead.
okay.
And so that's gonna continue. I mean, the mechanicals
Yeah.
are in the basement, so they have to be able to get down there.
All right.
Yeah, but it really is a basement with little basement windows, and they have no interest in being down there other than doing their craft stuff.
All right now?
You all set? Any other questions? No? Do I hear a recommendation?
Yeah, I was moving that we accept the recommendations of the health director.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so last up, we have Value Mart, 435 Route 28, food service permit suspension hearing for repeat violations of 105 CMR 590.000, the state sanitary code, and the 2013 FDA food code.
Hey, good evening. My name is Matt Porter. I'm the attorney for Malik Corporation.
Yeah, my name is Mehta Patel, and I'm on the corporation.
So, obviously here, the 3 violations within a short time period, extremely unfortunate, and these guys know it's unacceptable. They had an employee at the time who obviously was not doing their job. That employee has been removed from employment. Mr. Patel's son, Malik Patel, who's with us tonight, is going to be coming on board and run the day-to-day operations. The last couple of years, he's been working at a Subway location, which is highly regulated both by the city of Brockton and by Subway. So certainly comes with a vast amount of knowledge and understands the responsibilities that come along with food safety. So I think this will be in much better hands. These guys understand it's unacceptable. The violations that were in place have been corrected, and they don't anticipate any further violations moving forward.
What about the outside situation?
Yeah, everything done, nothing.
Oh, okay.
We haven't been back for that, so I can't comment on that.
Okay.
Do you want Megan's?
Yeah.
So she has a little bit of history for the board. October of 2018, a written warning was issued for multiple items that were out of date. Frequent inspections in 2019 showed improvement of management practices with rare violation. And then December of 2019, frequent visits due to tobacco regulation changes showed a decline in the food safety. Many items were out of date, including shelf-stable items. Items were removed during the time of inspection. January of 2020, frequent inspections resumed. Each inspection showed expired food items for sale, some with use-by dates older than 2 years. Additionally, the property was covered in litter and trash that was encroaching on the wetland next door, and rodent droppings were observed on the shelves inside the store. Citation was issued for violations of the food code, and then the suspension hearing was scheduled for this evening. Megan has a narrative stating that the suspension hearing is due to a accumulation of many violations cited over the last 2 months. Expired food items are routinely brought to the attention of management, removed from the shelves, and days later, more expired items are back on the shelves. It is Megan's belief that the owner is not getting the food from an approved source as required by the food code. Food items that are already expired must be being put on the shelves. In addition to the litter that has still not been completely cleaned up, the store has evidence of mice infestation. The owner claims that monthly pest control visits are made by a professional. However, it's hard to believe that a professional company would have missed the obvious signs of rodent activity. All affected food items and containers have been discarded and shelving disinfected. However, the storage room remains an issue. Holes in the ceiling are most likely the access method for the rodents, and a professional pest control company would have noticed this. Megan's recommendations are, number one, owner must provide a signed contract with a pest control company by this Friday, February 20th by 4 p.m. Number two, owner must provide invoices for food products to show where they are coming from. 3, a written plan of action is required for monitoring use-by dates. 4, weekly inspections with 100% compliance. And 5, if the owner is unable to attain the above, recommend suspension of the food service permit for 30 days.
Question.
Sure.
You said that the food items are out of date because they didn't use an approved food source.
So we're thinking that they're purchasing them from not a real distributor, that they're purchasing expired food, and then the expired food is being put on the shelves.
The distributor, do they monitor the distributor themselves monitor?
Supposed to be, if they're using.
They actually come in and look and see if the stuff is on the shelf? The distributor?
Depending on who you use. For instance, Lay's will come in and they'll check it out. But a lot of the products that we found, we would check 1 week and the date would be fine. And the next week we would come back and something would be 2 years expired for products that we know we had checked.
I see. So in other words, a new product came in that was already expired.
Correct. So we don't know what their food source is, where they're actually getting the items from.
Okay, I understand.
I have a question as far as the holes in the ceiling. There's nothing mentioned here about the building per se. Are those issues going to be corrected? You talk about getting a signed contractor in for pest control. The owner should provide invoices for the, food coming from a reliable source, plan of action, inspections, but I don't see anything in here about
Patching up the holes.
patching up the holes. In other words, if there's issues in the building itself.
Typically, that would fall under the pest control company, that they would correct that, but if you'd like to add that as a condition.
Well, I don't think the pest control company's going to close up the holes.
Well, they are. If you look at the pictures that are included, it's not a gaping hole. It's the issue. It's more the size of a quarter. So typically, the pest control company would be filling those cracks. But if you'd like to add a condition, then you are certainly
Obviously, that's
more
where
than welcome.
Chandeliers and stuff were attached to it. So.
It's a chain with a shelf.
Who was running the store the last month or two?
My employee.
You weren't there?
No.
So just one employee was running the store 24?
No, yeah.
2 employees?
But don't you think as an owner that you should be at least going in there maybe on a weekly basis?
He generally is. He was in India for the last 2 months, so when these
But
last
somebody
few
should have been
violations-
checking on that.
Understood, yeah.
And
I
I don't think this happened in just the last 2 months.
Yeah, well, the most recent violations are certainly under discussion.
Yeah, but I think it's been ongoing from the sounds of
No,
it.
understood. There's no disputes regarding any of that. I think this is certainly a wake-up call. I think the employee that they have coming in, is going to do an excellent job, and certainly the recommendations of the board are perfectly fine, that they're happy with any of those requirements. And I think they're willing to work with the town and understand that we need to make changes here.
All right, so are we
No
looking...
dispute on these.
Are we looking at accepting this and then... Is the store currently closed?
No.
No, oh, it's not. It's not. All right, so I'd like to hear something in there about whether the building itself is being fixed up, whether the pest people do it or whomever.
My understanding is not structural, I don't believe.
No.
Well, if they're talking about holes.
Right, but I think, perhaps you could speak to that a little bit more than I could, but it's not a structural deficiency within the building.
No, but all right, but what, if the holes are what I'm looking at, is it this?
One of them, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So they're either gonna have to plug it or they're gonna have to put a new. So what I'm saying is that I would think we should see something
Sure. If you want to
structurally
make that
that's
part of a
changed.
condition, then that's
Yeah.
fine.
Typically, that would be covered by the pest control, but if you'd like to add in that another
I think we ought to
condition that,
state, I don't know how to word it, but state something that,
I'll,
I don't know how to word it, but.
I mean, it would be covered by the pest control company. They're looking for that. You could have,
I just,
Well, I think there are two issues that aren't covered in our recommendation. One is to finish the trash removal outside.
yes.
And that's got to be inspected and approved. And the other one is to change the egress and ingress
there you go.
patterns for the mice and rodents.
Yeah.
And make sure that those patterns are completely obliterated. Other than that, I would recommend I would move to accept her recommendations with those two additions.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just don't
How would
know
you like
why.
to word that?
Wouldn't that also be covered by the pest control?
It would, and it would fall under 100% compliance, because right now they're out of compliance with that.
It might, but we have to see it.
Well, when he's talking about.
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to make it separate conditions, then hopefully.
Yeah,
it'll
I
all
would
be
like
covered.
to see those holes
So
patched
you
up
could
and-
have another condition,
Approved by the health director.
Yeah.
And
Verified.
also the trash. The statement was that the trash is better but not gone. And we want it gone, right?
do you want to set a time frame on that, or
Well, how about a month? You know?
that a month from today that no trash would be visible, even in the marsh?
I think,
Well, I'm not asking them to go out and wait in the marsh, but I do want.
A lot of it blew from the property to the edge. If you look at the pictures, it's kind of hard to see.
I think a month is rather long
Okay, whatever.
to clean up the trash like that. All right, I mean.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And then supposedly we would see a signed contract by February 20th. That's
Friday.
Friday.
I
Yeah,
would-
they can make some phone calls. Hopefully we can get somebody out there quick enough to do it. So
I
we'll make
accept
phone
the-
calls tomorrow morning. I suppose if there was any difficulties with getting someone out there by Friday, we could, contact the board and let you know. But I don't think it
So
should be an
nobody's been,
issue.
so nobody's been contacted yet?
Say that again?
No, so nobody's been contacted yet as far
They
as.
thought that they had, I think the employee thought that they had resolved the problem, but, we were waiting to see what the board's decision was gonna be tonight. And certainly, they'll get right on this. Maybe we can
Okay.
call tomorrow morning.
I accept the amendment to the motion.
Wait a minute, one more question.
Where are you getting your food products?
Huh?
Where are you getting your food products?
Japala.
Jay Paula,
Jay Pollock.
distributor.
So I guess that brings up another question then. Is this considered a reliable source if in fact you're getting,
We would want to
Jay
see.
Paula probably serves the majority of stores in Massachusetts, and it's one of the largest distributors.
so then why do we have such outdated products on shelf?
I think it's not just Jay.
Yeah.
Every time, sometimes
It's
distributor.
Jay Pollock plus somebody's kitchen cabinet.
Is that the only place you're getting supplied food from?
Only
That-
one supplier.
Only one supplier?
But that was a condition, correct?
We want to see all the
Which
invoices.
is fine, we'd be happy to do that.
Can you spell the name of the distributor for me?
J,
Yep.
just the letter J.
Yep.
P-O-L-E-P.
Thank you.
What was it, E?
P-O-L-E-P. J is the letter J.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now I guess that brings up an issue. What if they're distributing outdated product?
Well, it's their responsibility to decline the product. They should be checking it as it comes in.
Okay.
And they can't accept expired products.
All right. Okay.
So do you want to amend the motion any
You have a
further?
question,
Yes.
both of you?
Okay, are you planning to go there within a week?
Yes, we will be, yes.
Okay. And you will get a written condition? You will give us a condition?
We'll fill out an inspection form, yes, and we'll report back.
Do you have a question?
So, if the inspection turns up something that, you know, you find a violation, while the owners and the employees are there, what are the consequences that might happen?
So Megan's recommendation was that the food service license permit be suspended for 30 days. We typically.
But if you find it, are you allowed to
So
suspend that permit?
we remove the item, so if we find expired food, we'll have them dispose of it while we're there. We can't suspend their permit while we're there. I don't know if it has to come before you in order to do that. That would be a question for Megan. But we wouldn't be able to shut them down right while we were there unless it was a really egregious.
So within the week, then, would they also be required to do the written plan of action?
Yes.
So if you would go in a week, you would, by this Friday, you will have a signed contract for the pest control.
By Friday.
By Friday. And the invoices, are you supposed to have that?
Ideally, we would like that Friday.
Friday.
As well as the written plan would ideally be done by Friday.
Okay.
I guess if they really couldn't, I mean, they should have the invoices readily available, so that shouldn't take any time.
Okay.
Question, is the content of the contract anything we should stipulate?
The content of
In
the.
other words, to tell them what they want done. Having a
Pest control, you mean
contract doesn't mean anything unless you know what's in it.
The pest control contract,
Yeah.
is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't
I
follow.
think it's up to them to tell them what they want.
Well, they gotta tell them what we want too.
Yeah.
I think they,
So-
no.
Well, no, I think what she's saying is they need to specify what we're looking for in that contract. Now, my other question is, you want to see a signed contract by this Friday. That doesn't necessarily mean they're coming Friday to do the pest control.
Correct.
Or whatever they have to do. So, should that be done in a certain time frame? And then we want to make sure that the egress to these little critters are blocked off.
If you would like to, that's
Why
your
don't-
prerogative.
Why don't we
Absolutely.
can we do a plan with them that's subject to health board approval? So that way they'll draft the contract and we can send it over to
Yeah,
you folks
that-
and you can
I
take a
like
look at
that.
it.
Yeah.
Why don't we just make it subject to your approval?
And then
that
we also
way-
want, to know when their first
Yeah.
application or whatever.
Yeah, I think all of that would be
So
in
the only
plan.
problem with that is that brings us out a month. You only meet every month.
I know, it's a
So, that's a long time for them not to be getting to work on.
No, what I'm getting at is have that done and have it come to Megan.
Okay, on
Yeah.
a staff, and
Yeah,
handle it on a
I'm not saying that
staff
it
level.
necessarily has to come back to us, but if we stipulate it in here and it goes to Megan, then she would follow through with these items.
Just to make
Does
sure
that
that
make
it's
sense?
satisfactory.
It
to
makes
you guys.
sense as long as we hear about it, yeah.
I think Megan would let us know.
Oh, yeah, she'll certainly
Should let
update
us
you.
know.
Just my only fear, if you want to see it, that's a month of more
Yeah.
mice
Yeah.
breeding.
Right, yeah, I'm not saying we have to see it, I don't feel that we need to see
No.
it before it's done. She just needs to make sure that all these things happen.
Right, and that's something that we would be following through on the weekly inspections to meet the 100% compliance. So right now, they're out of compliance because they are signs of rodents. They're out of compliance because there's holes in the ceiling. They're out of compliance because they're selling out-of-date food. So
Then you do
that
weekly-
condition.
Then you do weekly?
Yes, we do weekly. So the weekly inspections with 100% compliance really envelops a lot of different areas.
Okay. All right.
So we've got an amended motion. now.
Yes.
Four things, I think. One is to accept the health director's recommendations. Two is to add the business about making sure that's not really very fancy. To add completion of trash cleanup to the recommendation.
For 2 weeks, you said? Is that what?
I don't care
Yeah,
about
I
the
think,
time.
I think a month is too long.
No, 2 weeks is all right. complete removal of all trash should be in the motion. And there was one other thing. What was your amendment? You said you wanted to add something.
The egress, you
The
wanted
egress. I
the,
wanted to make sure that that is being taken care of, that it is finished, not that
Well,
it's
we're
in a-
going to see that in the contract, whether it's.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
Oh,
you
you
have a
wanna add to
contract.
it. All right, and evidence, add this to the motion. Evidence that ingress and egress for all rodents has been,
Then
eliminated.
eliminated.
okay?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Did you have a time frame on that?
I'd say 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heck, somebody can get up there with some putty and do it in 5 minutes.
I don't know how many of those little, I see, I guess when I'm looking at these type of things, you almost need to replace them.
Well, I don't think there are any of those up there.
Well, that's not
It's
one
just-
picture.
Yeah, it's just a chain place. I don't know what the chain was for.
It's holding shelving
Oh,
up.
I see. Anyway, it doesn't matter. As long as the holes are patched up, we don't care what they were for. So I so move.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Can you send me the?
I don't blame
We've done a
you.
lot of amendments there, so I just want to.
Business card?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
and
take
if
that.
someone could just email that to me, just so we're all on the same page, then I don't know if there's any objections to it, but.
I can email you the health director's site summary that has her recommendations.
Okay, and that would include the
And we'll,
recommendations of the.
we can add in what was
Okay, and
added.
deadlines and everything. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, if you could send that to me, then we'll make sure that gets taken care of.
Perfect.
Okay,
And
thank you.
we will be out.
That's it? Yeah, we can get the report. Can you email me the report as well? That's it?
Yep, I'll
Okay.
just give you the whole packet that Megan put together.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And no correspondences. So unless anyone has
Yes,
another.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Do you plan to go there weekly? Is there different dates or the same date all the time?
We'll mix it up.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's
Yeah.
not scheduled, so
Yeah,
that it's.
go
Okay.
different days, different times.
Now, how would the shelves and all this other stuff, food products are on, what would the shelves look like?
So the area where there's evidence of the mouse droppings, we had them discard all those products and completely sanitize the shelves.
And you said that there's something in here, and our notes was that the food products were back on the shelves again.
Yeah,
Different
New,
ones,
different
probably.
ones, yes. So we'll be checking the invoices to see where they're actually getting the items, and we'll compare what's on the shelves.
How long do you do the week?
Until there's no problem.
And then do you periodically go back? then?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we try to get in 4 times a year for year-round establishments. That's kind of the goal.
Even if they're that infrequently, even if after you've gone through the weekly, for someone that's had this amount of violations that look
They'll-
this bad?
We'll do them weekly for a long time, and then it'll probably be bi-weekly for a little while, monthly.
And then sporadically to,
Yes.
all right.
Be interesting to see what happens to the gas prices.
You should just go down to the next station. Doesn't matter. They go up, you go down the clock.
I don't even know which one this is.
I know, but they may have to
Why,
raise them anyway.
Land
Well,
Road,
no, I just think that,
Oh,
Fish Market.
okay.
So unless anyone had anything else, we are all set for the
I
agenda.
don't understand how they can sell beer and wine in these places.
They must have a liquor license to sell any of that stuff.
How about a motion to adjourn, and then you guys can
Yeah,
chat all
okay,
you
that
want?
sounds good.
Yes, I make
Was
a
that a
motion to
motion?
adjourn.
Second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.